Hey everybody, this is Nate Smoyer, and you're listening to the Tech Nest Podcast. This is the show where we sit down with the leaders in real estate and technology to find out what they're doing to transform the way we buy, sell, and invest in real estate. If you've got an interest in real estate and technology, stick around. You're in the right place.
All right. What's up, everybody? Nate Smoyer from Team Panda, host of the Tech Nest Podcast. Coming at you, I got an update for you today. This one is a little bittersweet for me to share, and I'm going to get right to it. I've got a new job. Now, for those of you who don't know, I've been running a company called Team Panda as a marketing advertising agency. We have focused in specializing, working with real estate tech companies on their growth marketing. So you're not going to find very many companies out there who say they specialize with real estate tech. And that's kind of what we did. And a handful of reasons with that. But as a marketer and salesperson, entrepreneur, I look for opportunities and open holes in markets and go for it. And real estate tech is hot. The market is ready for it. The money is there and willing to spend. And so why not? And in that process, one of my clients who I've been working with for a few months now, the short story is I went out to work with them on site. I traveled out to Chicago. So now you know where I'm moving to Chicago. I went to work on site with the client and, spent 3 days out there. And I really honestly thought, hey, we're going to get a ton of work done together. We're going to just do really good work. And I thought that was going to help our projects. I had no idea I was going to come home with an opportunity to join a new company. And then that's exactly what happened. So without further ado, I have accepted a role full-time to join Avail as Director of Marketing. And I'm really pumped about this. It does mean some changes. It means I'm moving to Chicago. We're going to move downtown Chicago, going to embrace a full-on city living where we are kissing the suburbs goodbye. And really looking forward to that. I actually start, June 3rd. So I believe you're likely listening to this on June 3rd. If you're a little bit later, I've already started. But we're actually leaving Bellingham June 30th and going out there and going to kick butt. Going to kick butt for all the landlords out there and tenants. And I really believe in what they're doing, what they're building. And before I go into Avail, let me just talk a little bit about the history here of TechNest and what that means for the podcast. So for a lot of you who don't know, the podcast is served multiple functions. The purpose of the show is to feature leaders and innovators in real estate technology who are working to transform the way we buy, sell, and invest in real estate. And that's what I've been doing. I've been looking out and trying to find who in this market is killing it. I should have loaded up one of these screens, but I'll pull it up here. If you're watching the video, that's why I'm talking about that, which screens I'm going to pull up. But, we've had a ton of guests on the show. Actually, I can show it through the Instagram. And if you go to our Instagram, TechNest Podcast, you can see everyone who's on the show. We just published, this is episode 47. Episode 47 blows me away that we have done that many episodes. And I have had help. That's why I keep saying we. But I've had help, and it's been an incredible journey. Technically episode 3 was like the first interview. Episode 1 was just the teaser, and then episode 2 was a monologue of what to expect, what was to come. And the first 2 seasons we did batch loads, and then after that we've been launching new episodes just about every single Monday. And on the business side, the business case, because people ask me, how do you make money off a podcast? And here's the secret to the podcast. The secret of the podcast is this is a direct channel for me to talk to the most interesting people in real estate tech. And those are the people I was looking to work with. And that's what was so beautiful about the arrangement with Avail. We started working together, really hit it off. So we had Ryan Kuhn on the podcast. He's the co-founder and CEO of Avail. And, it was just clear, we understood each other. I got the value prop of Avail. I understand them and their customers. I'm the ideal customer and user of Avail. And so it just made a lot of sense. And so that's why I'm really pumped about that. But, this is a sales tool. very much. The podcast is a sales tool. While both I get an opportunity to edify those who are doing incredible work in the industry, I leverage it as a sales tool. Now, moving forward, that changes. It's not a sales tool anymore. So the natural question is to ask, well, Nate, if you were just using it as a sales tool for your agency, does this mean you're going to keep the podcast? The answer is a resounding yes. There might be some changes. There might be some hiccups in, while I'm moving and getting everything organized and figuring out schedules. But the podcast will continue. We're going to keep pushing to get everyone who's working in real estate tech, who's doing something interesting. I want to talk to them. I want to tell their stories. So that means if you work in real estate tech, if you know someone who works in real estate tech, if you're friends with, founders and CEOs, C-level executives, VCs in real estate tech, prop tech, fintech, all of it's connected. Prop tech, I guess, is like the real estate technology and like a whole bunch of other like buckets underneath. And if you want to get really technical, you can draw like some Venn diagrams to find out what technically qualifies. I look at it as this: if you've got a play, if you're making some sort of business case with real estate and you're using technology to leverage or to facilitate that business case, that's who I want to feature on the show. And I think that's important. Transforming the way we buy, sell, and invest in real estate. So the future for TechNest is bright. Prior to even starting the podcast, I actually started doing a lot of product and service overviews, and I did put some of those on hold. They weren't quite at the quality I wanted them to be, but I want to do more of those. And I'll probably do less marketing analysis of those companies, but you should start seeing those in the coming months, probably 2-3 months out once I get settled in. And again, that's going to be given back to the industry. I want to give, I look at it as if I want to be a part of this industry, I want to deliver the value first. I want to be the person who gives to you guys first, because I've been inspired. I've really been encouraged. There's been a ton of people in the industry that it's just been crazy to me that, a year ago, nobody in real estate tech had ever heard of me. And now I've got like 5 friends, maybe a few more than that, but it's been a heck of a journey. If I have anything to do with it, real estate tech, prop tech, all of it, tech around real estate is going to be where I'm going to be at in the long term. And so we're going to keep with the podcast under the TechNest brand. It was very intentional that we branded it TechNest and not, Real Team Panda, Real Estate Tech Podcast. I know what we were doing. And we're gonna keep moving for that. So obviously, people then ask like, well, what about Real Team Panda? Nate, you started this agency, you started taking on clients, you built out some crazy processes, you really did some good work with some cool companies. What's next for Real Team Panda? Well, Real Team Panda takes the full-on backseat. We've got some great partner agencies that we've been working with to facilitate some of the work with our clients. And ones that needed to be passed on got passed on. Obviously, I'm sticking with Avail. And everything else just takes a back seat. Maybe in the future there'll be some advising or consulting opportunities, but I'm not looking for anything right now. We're not looking to take on any new work, and we've been setting things up to move forward. But for the real estate tech companies that we've talked to, or if you thought, hey, you know what, well, I could have used your services, Nate. I didn't know what you were doing. That's true. I didn't really advertise it a whole lot, truthfully. I kept it 1-to-1. I'm more than happy to get you guys connected to the right people, because I do know the right people. And, so if you need to connect to the right people, I know the right people, I'll hook you up, no problem. And so, but we're going to totally put that on hold. So important things to note: TechNest podcast is sticking around, technest.io. If you're not familiar with the website, go there. Actually get on the VIP email list so that you always get the updates of changes to the podcast and when new episodes launch. Check us out on social media too, by the way. That's where we publish all the new shows as well and promote them. TechNest podcast everywhere, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. All right, let's talk about Avail for a hot second. So I've had Avail on the show. They were episode 35, season 3. Avail has been around for a little while now, so we'll go to their the Crunchbase page. You can see it, 2012, co-founded by Ryan Kuhn and Lawrence Genkelo, and formerly known as Rentolutions. Now, this is embarrassing. I actually said their name wrong on one of my preview videos, like way back when. But it's okay. I called it Rentolations, I think is how I pronounced it. But it's a software solution for DIY landlords, and even I would say the software is for tenants. And this is one of the things I love about the software most, is because it makes the experience of renting better for everyone. And it does that through better background credit, eviction checks, the whole screening process when you're going through the applications. It does that better, or it makes the experience better through the lease signing and building a lease, making sure you have a good lease, protecting both the landlord and the tenant. When you think about it, you got to have a good lease that protects the tenant as well. Collecting rent online automatically. Look, I don't know about you guys, but I have zero time for writing checks. Just take my money. That's how I want to do it. Just take my money. And that's what Avail does. And there's a few other great services that I'm really excited about. We've got stuff on the horizon. And I've got some plans I haven't even told them about yet. So hopefully we'll get those up and rolling soon. By the way, today's t-shirt is brought to you by Mailshake. If you're not familiar with them, ask me about it. Automated email outreach. But so there's a ton of great stuff happening, and I'm really, really excited to join them. If you want to see some of the content we're producing, some really high quality content, go to the education tab. A lot of like laws and regulations and landlord guides, and even down to the nitty gritty of interesting debates and topics like, hey, so my state just legalized marijuana. How do I make sure no one's smoking in the house, even though it's legal? And we give some great detail instructions on what do you do in scenarios like that. So that's a little bit about Avail. And I think that if you haven't checked them out, definitely go check them out, avail.co. Wherever you're finding this, you're going to find the link. It's going to be in the notes or in the post below or something, or I'll tag it, or you'll see the career update, that kind of thing. Make sure you check it out. And moving on here, I want to talk about a few things from the podcast. So if you're brand new to the podcast, this is probably like the worst episode you could have picked to start listening to, because it's not normally a monologue. Normally, it's an interview with someone who's really interesting, and I get them to do about 75% of the talking, and I only ask questions. But so I wanted to pick out a few episodes that stood out in my memory. Now, these are recent episodes. I didn't go all the way to the back, but there's some, amazing ones. It was actually really hard to narrow it down. And I think I'm probably partial to some of these episodes because I've gotten better as an interviewer, and I've also gotten maybe some better guests, and nothing to say anything bad about old bad guests. I have favorites. Hate me. What are you going to do? At me, bro. All right. So I'm going to talk about 5 episodes that stood out in my mind as some of our my favorite episodes. And then a lot of listeners have also agreed that it's their favorite episodes because these are the ones that have gotten the most plays. So we'll just start with the most recent, work our way back. Not really any particular outside of that. So episode 44 was with Erina Malarkey and Anna Lee Deringer. Excuse me. They're both co-founders of a company called Remarkably. They work with commercial, or I should say multifamily building owners and operators and even property managers to get those buildings performing as best as possible. And they do this in they have a ton of different ways they do this. It first started as a consulting company, but they realized that they had the opportunity to create a product out of this. And that's what they did. They went and created a software that shows the operators, whether it's the owner, whether it's the property manager of that building, all the data points they need to see on their marketing to know what to do. And so you could say like, well, I'm spending 10 grand on, print and or digital or whatever. And, I have community events on Saturday, and you're doing all these things, but how do you measure that? And then even once you measure what's happening, what do you even do with that data? And that's the hard part. That's actually the really hard part that they solve. They are crushing it. When asked the question, what was the driving force? And, they both agreed it's just Erina. She's out there killing it on the sales end, just making sure that everyone absolutely knows, hey, you need to know about what we're doing. They've got a really cool story. They've known each other for some time now. I think also it's come up in a few shows because I've tried to make this, hey, I want to represent everybody who's in this industry, especially those who don't get represented fairly. And Anna, Anna Lee and Aaron both touched on what it's like to be a majority women-owned company, not just in tech, not just in real estate and commercial real estate tech. It's different, but it's not stopping them. It's not slowing them down. And they talk about that a little bit. And I think it's a great episode. You guys should really listen to this one. They're both hilarious, really cool people. Also, they're the best VIP parties. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Episode 42 with Janine Yorio. What blew me away about this one is Janine is like, if you have any friends from New York, like she just like, I don't know, there was something about like just straight to it. I'm from the East Coast, outside of Philly. I love my East Coast people because East Coast people, we do business a little bit differently. I like to chop it up with a little bit of small talk, before and after doing a deal or something. But, East Coast people just get right to it. And I got to pick on Janine for a little bit here. She doesn't know I'm going to say this. I hope she doesn't mind. So normally when we end a podcast, y'all let's say, see you later. And we'll also see you later. But she actually hung up on me. And I think I didn't tell her beforehand, hey, I wanted to talk a little bit more after the episode. But I know she's busy because they're trying to IPO 3 separate REITs in the next year. And they're doing these REITs that are called city funds, and they're city specific REITs. So if you want to own a slice in New York, you can own a slice in New York. You can invest in this publicly traded REIT and own some real estate or pieces of real estate in New York. So you don't have to buy a REIT that owns, New York, Chicago, and some random thing down in Jacksonville. You can just own New York or LA or Paris or London. That kind of thing. And I think it's a really cool idea. I think it's going to, attract the attention of people who are in those areas, that believe in their areas, that want to invest in their areas, but they can't afford to buy in because it is way too cost prohibitive. I mean, for the average folk to try and buy in New York, ain't happening. So I thought it was cool. I love what they're doing. I've been following them actually for quite some time. That's that one. All right, moving on. Number 3, season 3, episode 36 with Omri Dor, CEO and co-founder of Obligo. Now, Obligo, first off, I did have to watch a video to make sure I was pronouncing it correctly. And Omri, just such a nice guy. When I meet people in this industry like Omri, I'm really, really, really encouraged. It's great to talk to and work with and network with people who get the people side. It's not just business. It's not just numbers. It's people. And I get that from Omri and his team at Obligo. They care about the people. And, it's in my opinion, especially when you're creating any product, even if it's for a property manager, even if it's for a realtor or investment firm, if it benefits the very end user all the way down to the consumer, they're the ones that are going to win. And I think that's really hard to do that sometimes, but I believe that's where their heart's at. So Obligo is a service that enables tenants to move in without having to put down a security deposit. And we're seeing this in cities more so than outside of cities, in individual buildings, big buildings, and multifamily. And the way theirs works is it's a credit agreement. There's other models out there that are like more of an insurance model. We talk about that in the episode. We break down the differences of those models. But instead of, forking out $2,500, and tying up that cash in a deposit, you can actually just pay a small monthly amount, say like $5 to $20, and you don't have to put down a security deposit no more. And so you now have your cash. You can work with your cash. And I like that. Give me my cash back. So Obligo, CEO, Omri Dor, episode 36. Moving on, episode 35 from season 3. Of course, I had to give a shout out to Avail. We had Ryan Kuhn on the show. It was great talking with him. He's a Forbes Real Estate Council contributor, RE200 mentor, Metaprop, New York City. They founded the company 2011, technically 2012, depending on where you look and how you talk about the story. And I think it's just great. It's a platform built specifically for do-it-yourself landlords. It makes the whole process, it seriously makes the whole process so much simpler. I wish I could, I'm going to get it down to explain how simple, but it's hard to say it simpler than it just makes it simple. Anyway, I've already gone on and on about Avail, but you got to listen to this episode. I thought it was a great episode. I really enjoyed this episode. It was one of the episodes that kicked off our relationship. And so, of course, I had to put it up in the top 5. And last but not least, one company I keep telling everybody about. So I got to keep telling everybody about this one. Okay. I don't work for them. I don't get paid by them. I don't get kickbacks, nothing. And Pat, if you want to change that, you go right ahead, man. You want to give me a kickback, I'll take it. Pat Kinsell, he's the founder and CEO of a company called Notarize. And I love it because it's such a boring business. They're a digital notary, a 24/7 digital notary. Now, look, his story is really great. Imagine you're sitting, you just sold a company to Twitter. You're overseas. You literally just signed everything to sell this company. And you got to fly back to the States to notarize a document, to find a lot, just to make it all seal it up. And then even better, after you notarize the document and first class mail it across the country, you get a call and says, hey, we need a different type of notary signature or stamp on this. And I don't claim to be an expert in notaries. I don't exactly know all the businesses they're in. But think about it. You got to report a boat sale to some government agency different than a car sale, which is different than a home sale. And that was interesting to me. They have learned to navigate an extremely confusing bureaucratic system. And so if they can do that, they're helping shape legislation to help move business faster. They're working with iBuyers and lenders directly. And as those businesses scale, they need to scale with speed. And that's what Notarize is bringing to the table. The real estate transaction process is getting, smaller in terms of timelines. It's getting really, really crammed. And Notarize is giving those who use their service an unfair advantage in being able to close deals faster. And so they just announced that they hit $1 billion worth in transactions through their platform. That doesn't mean they made $1 billion. It means they managed, $1 billion through their transaction platform. Now, and it's taken them 17 months, he said. I think that's what I read this morning. It took about 17 months. Here's the thing, though. They're going to do that every 4 weeks moving forward. And it's not going to be long till they get to every week. I mean, it's just not going to be long. And so I like Notarize. Every single person I've ever told about Notarize has said, can you send me an intro, or can you send me their link, or wow, that sounds interesting. We need to talk to them. So I think they're really cool. Anyway, that's my top 5 episodes. You can find them all at technest.io. That is the podcast. Get on the email list. Go to the App Store. Make sure you leave us a review. All those things. Really appreciate the support from everybody. And so if I have some hiccups here on podcast schedules, I apologize. I'm very sorry. I will get back to the normal schedule very soon as I'm getting settled in at Avail. Really excited for this new gig. If you have any questions for me, as always, you can reach me directly, nate@realteampanda.com. I'm keeping the website and the email and all that jazz. It's not going to go off the internet. I'm not going dark. Just changing focus. That's all it is. And I think this is probably to be expected. As it's hard to take on a new job and run anyway, you know what I'm saying here. So yeah, hit me up, nate@realteampanda.com. Find me on LinkedIn. It's probably where I'm most active is on LinkedIn, and maybe Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, all those places. I'm not on Snapchat these days. You can also find me on Bigger Pockets. If you're in the Bigger Pocket scene, I'm also on the Bigger Pockets scene. It's just find me under Nate Smoyer. And yeah, that's it for this episode of TechNest. We'll just sign it out with I'll kick in the bumper. We'll put in the bumper here so you guys know where to leave us a review. But really seriously, go to the App Store and leave us a review. I'd really appreciate that today. I've not made a hard push on this, but I do want to make that push today. Go to the App Store, leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. And tell other people about the show, because I think that we're covering some stuff that, just doesn't make the headlines a lot of times, but we're ahead of the curve. We're ahead of the media and who we're talking to and the companies we're featuring. And I think it's important that we continue doing that and making sure people know about the companies working in this space. So thanks so much. We're going to catch you guys next week. Cheers.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening to the TechNest podcast. Hey, don't forget you can get on the email list so you never miss an upcoming episode. That's technest.io. That's technest.io. Get on the email list. Go to the App Store, whether you found us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you found us. Leave us a 5-star review and share it with your friends. And if you've got a guest or someone that you'd like to recommend, or if you think that you'd be a great guest on the show, hey, send me an email, Nate@realteampanda.com. That's Nate@realteampanda.com. See you guys later.